Hey guys, so this is something that I've been seeing asked a lot and I've been curious about as well, and that was making our own stencils in Chalk Couture. So I have read a whole bunch of different things. I've seen a whole bunch of different recommendations on ways to try it. So on here I have 4 plus, excuse the dogs, plus 1 Chalk Couture transfer and 1 that is the screen adhesive brand that is sold at Michael's. So I'm gonna switch camera angles real quick and let you know. So there, I've got the Love from Chalk Couture. So that's our traditional stencil, and there is a little bit of tape there just because it's very close to the edge and I want to give myself some buffer. This one that's black, which if I had it to do again, I wouldn't do it in black, my apologies, was done with ironing it onto the mesh. Then this one is adhesive vinyl, just on the mesh. This one has no mesh on it, it's just straight up the adhesive vinyl. This one was specifically using the removable vinyl from Cricut. The idea being that you could use a large piece of screen mesh and keep reusing it by just replacing the removable vinyl on top. And then this little red one, which is the only one that isn't a word, is the one from Michael's. And I forget the brand, but it's an adhesive stencil and it's got the mesh as well. So one of the things I did a little differently, a lot of them are talking about using 110 for the mesh. And I did use, I want to say it's 160. It's a higher count mesh. Just because I figured it couldn't hurt, it could only help. So I haven't tried this before. This is a total experiment. You're experimenting right along with me. To keep it all even, I'm going to use the exact same paste. I'm going to use the same squeegee. I'm going to try and do it just all at once, more or less, to try and reduce the variables. But here goes. And clearly my plan is to erase this because this isn't a design that anyone actually would use. So we're going to start with the Chalk Couture brand because we know that it works really well. Kind of gives us our baseline. So I'm just using the Chalk Couture multi-tool right now, and then I've got my Chalk Couture squeegee. So I am going to actually, as I squeegee it off, instead of putting it back in the jar, I'm just going to scoot it down to the next transfer. So this one is the iron-on, and it is going on very smooth. I don't know how well it's going to come off, but it does seem to go on very smoothly. And then the adhesive vinyl. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull those up before my paste has a chance to dry, and then I will do these other couple. So let's go ahead and peel those up. So there's the Chalk Couture one, and if you're not familiar with this transfer, it does have some distressing built into the transfer, so we expected to see that completely. So these other ones I did have to tape down because they aren't sticky, which the Chalk Couture ones are. And that one's okay. It's a little thick, even coming through that higher count screen mesh. It's definitely a little thick. Let me get this one off as well, and then I will zoom in on those 3 for you before we do the next ones. And you may notice I did have some weeding errors in adhesive and mesh, and it just is what it was. So here's the Chalk Couture one. And then we come down to the iron-on. So you can tell it's definitely thicker in the middle of the letters. It's not quite as nice, even and thin And then the adhesive one, pretty much the same as the iron-on. So you're seeing that really thick kind of middle of the letter in both of those. All right, we'll go ahead and get these other couple ones chalked real quick and see if we get any better results with any of these. So this one is just no mesh at all. And I fully expect this one to go on way too thick. And I can even feel that it's much thicker going on. I have actually used this Michaels brand one before in a different transfer, and it seemed to work okay. This one, I haven't used this transfer though, so we'll see. And then same thing, I'm just using the excess and moving it over onto this other one. And this removable is a long word. I should have abbreviated when I made it. So I'm just trying to push down just like I do with the Chalk Couture transfer. I'm trying to keep it very even, and then same thing, just squeegee off the excess. And I could be using the regular squeegee, but they were just so small that the multi-tool is doing the trick. So let's do this one, which is this Michaels brand one. And it is decent. It's still not as crisp as the Chalk Couture, but I would say it's better than the other two that we have uncovered so far. This one is using absolutely no mesh, just straight up cut the vinyl out on the Cricut, stuck it on as a stencil, and as I expected, that one's very uneven. Definitely would not recommend doing it that way. And this one actually with the removable vinyl, even though we were using the same screen mesh as everything else, seemed to bleed even worse than the adhesive and the iron-on. So I don't know if it's the texture of it because it is a matte finish or what. So we're gonna switch back over here. So there was the one with no mesh. You can see that it's definitely splotchy. Wouldn't recommend it. This is the Michaels brand one. It's still much more uneven than our Chalk Couture, but it is, I would say, your second best option. It still doesn't provide the customization that people are looking for though. And then there it was with the removable vinyl, which definitely was not the answer. So, end result, I was hoping to find that one of these really worked great and was a great alternative, and I would say I have not at this point found that any of them are really an okay alternative. If I needed to put a name or something on it, I would say the best option of these is iron-on so far. And I am going to wash this off and probably do some more experimenting. But the one other thing I want to mention, after I had cut these and got ready to chalk them and record this, somebody on one of the boards I was reading said do them in reverse. So instead of ironing or sticking your vinyl to the mesh so that the mesh was closest to the chalkboard, that you should put the mesh on top and mirror the vinyl and put it underneath. So I have not tried that, but that does sort of seem more like the way you do it with screen printing. So we may give that a go in another video. But so far, my answer is, much to my dismay, that none of the alternatives are really great. I definitely wouldn't do anything very intricate with any of the alternatives, but if you were really trying to get a name or something on there, the iron-on was probably the best result.